Okay, good afternoon, learners. We are meeting after a gap of almost 1 week, I guess. So we need to just shortly revise as to what we were discussing last time, so that we are able to connect what we are going to discuss today with the earlier lessons. You would recall that what we are discussing in this counseling session is the strategic management process, and this is, I think, it should be visible to you on the screen. And we are in the various units. Yes, in the various units we are discussing each component of this process that we see here. So we've in general discussed strategy formulations, the various strategy alternatives which are available. We've also looked at the implementation and the evaluation phases, short, in brief. And in the second block we started off with uh, a more detailed discussion of objectives and of the different variety of strategies which are available to us. And we also, in the second unit itself, we also looked at the environmental analysis aspect of this process. And there's this one small topic which is there in block 2, which we need to start off today. And from there, we'll go on to the block number 3, where we would basically discuss the different strategies in detail, and how do we go about choosing these strategies for different kind of industries, and what are going to be the criteria to basically evaluate the various strategies which are available to us, and then choose these strategies which are most appropriate in the condition, in the situation we are in right now. Okay. So let us start with this small topic I said, which is there, and which we've not been able to discuss in the last session. Do you want me to briefly run through the environmental analysis, the small topics that we discussed, so that you're able to recall what we uh, did last session? I think I'll just run through this. So the last unit that we were discussing, which was the last part of block 2, was environmental analysis. And we said that there are various components of environment, okay, which we need to analyze before we go ahead and discuss, and before we go ahead and finalize what kind of strategies could be available to us given the current scenario. So the business environment was divided into two parts: the internal environment and the external environment. External was, again, as you might be already aware, was divided into micro and macro. Is divided into micro and macro, where the macro factors are the general environment factors, and the micro factors are those factors which are very closely connected to us, though they are outside the organization, but they are very closely connected. And the internal environment basically is about how the organization is run, from the planning part to the implementation of the planning to the into the various functions. So that is the internal environment. And we discussed what is environmental analysis. We said why we need to discuss, do an analysis of the environment, because we want to find out opportunities, identify threats, create effective strategies on the basis of all these, anticipate change and be prepared for the change, and make informed decisions. So this is in general what we need the environmental analysis for. Then there was this process which we said that first we analyze the environment, scan the environment to spot any deviations or factors that may impact us. We also identify factors which may impact us. Like we said, that there are certain environmental factors which might not at all impact us. though they might be very close, occurring very closely. So we need to identify which factors are going to be important for us, which are very, imperative to study and look at. Then we collect data according to those, on those factors, and we forecast and plan accordingly. That was the process of environmental analysis. We also looked at tools of environmental analysis, which we discussed in detail. We said there is a pestle analysis, which is again a macro environmental instrument. SWOT strands, which SWOT is a technique or a tool which would help us to analyze our own strengths and weaknesses in the light of the opportunities and the threats which exists. Okay, there was a 7S model of McKinsey, which is a model which would make us evaluate the internal environment of the organization, internal design of the organization, and find out whether we would be in a position to fit what environment is offering at the moment, whatever, opportunities or threats. So this is, we discussed in detail the various special factors, and then we went ahead and we discussed also SWOT analysis. Are you able to see the file?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right, we discussed all this, the 7S model also, and then we were to go ahead and discuss the internal environment. So that is what we are going to start off today. We also discussed the competitive forces, which was a very interesting uh, area, and we discussed the Porter's 5 forces competitive model, because competitors and the competition are also a part of the environment. So that is also an important component of the environment which needed analysis, right? And today we are going to discuss what is internal analysis, right? Now, sometimes a firm's overall strengths and weaknesses and its ability to execute are often found more important to its performance than environmental factors. It means that sometimes the firm has certain internal qualities, capabilities, assets, and core competencies. We'll come to the explanation of what all these words mean. But sometimes the firm has certain such qualities which help the firm to, get a competitive edge over the competitors and even survive and prosper in the environment which might not be that conducive. Okay, so what are these things? What are these qualities that we are talking of? And why do we need to look at them? Because how does, it help us in the strategic management process? So there are 5 main components or 5 qualities that we might talk of as far as internal analysis is concerned, and as far as the internal strengths and strengths of the organization is concerned, which help us match the corresponding environment which is outside the organization. So the firm and internal analysis obviously talks of looking at these 5 qualities, looking at these 5 components which form a part of the internal environment of the firm and which helps the organization survive and meet the external environmental factors. Okay. One is assets and resources. That is the first component of the internal environment. Second is capabilities. Third is core competencies. Then we can talk of competitive advantage and strategic competitiveness. Now, there is, from assets and resources, from moving from assets and resources to strategic competitiveness, it is a gradient from where, the the ability of the organization grows. So assets and resources might be passive things. And by the time it reaches the strategic competitiveness, it is talking of the ability of the organization to survive, grow, prosper in the external environment. So it is that there is a flow of, there is a accumulation quality when we are talking of all these 5 components. So let us talk of them one by one. What do you mean by assets? All the factors of production could be capital, people, machinery, whatever. All the factors of production which are used by the firm, they are called assets. And any firm can have two kinds of assets: tangible assets and intangible assets. I think you're very well aware of what are tangible assets and what are intangible assets. So, if we are talking of machinery or any kind of equipment, that is a tangible asset, something which we can see. And if we are talking of the mental abilities of people, if we are talking of the culture of the organization, if we are talking of the competencies of the organization, then it is an intangible asset. Okay. Resources can again be divided. Now, assets are can also be termed as resources of the organization. Now, what kind of resources can an organization have and what needs to be looked at? We can have available resources. We can have a lot of physical resources. We have physical resources would mean buildings, machinery, our factory setup. Human resources could be our people, which is obviously the most valuable assets. Financial resources would be the capital, the cash, the debtors, the other monetary things that the organization has. And intellectual capital also is an available resource, which would mean the knowledge, the experience, the business systems, the relationships with associates, brands. All these are intellectual capital of the organization, and these can all be termed as resources and which are available to the organization. There's another term which is again connected with resources. It's called threshold resources. Threshold resources are all those resources which need to be there for a firm to be starting off and performing in the industry. So threshold, you understand, is the basic level of thing. So whatever resources are required to start a business is threshold resources, and anyone who is in any firm which is in an industry will definitely have those threshold resources. But the quality of those resources is good. The performance of the organization will also be good. Then there's a term called unique resources. Unique resources is those resources which the other competitors do not have. Okay. When we come to the discussion of all these topics, all these components, we'll take an example and then we'll see exactly what do we mean by this. So unique resources is something which we might have patented products. We might have an advantage as far as raw material is concerned. Maybe we are sourcing our own raw material. We are making our own raw material. That's also possible, right? It can also be people which are with us, and the competitors do not have these unique resources. Please give me a second. Sorry for the interruption. Second thing that we need to talk about as far as the internal environment is concerned, which is under consideration, is the capabilities, something called capabilities. Now, in order to take advantage of the resources and the assets which are available in the organization, you need to have capabilities. The organization needs to have capabilities. Now, these capabilities are built over a period of time. These skills become their capabilities and enables them to utilize these assets optimally. This is a complex kind of a sentence, but what it means is an organization maybe has a lot of resources, but does not have the capability to use those resources. Sometimes people are there in the organization, and the organization does not have the ability or the capacity or the capability to utilize the people in a proper manner so that their time is not wasted and they are put into proper use. Sometimes the organization might have capital, but that capital might be lying idle, not utilized for expansion or growth. Sometimes the machinery, sometimes the physical factors could be there, physical resources would be there, but they are not utilized properly. So capability means the ability of the organization to make full optimal use of whatever resources the organization is having at hand. Okay, going further ahead from resources capabilities, we come to competencies. What are competencies? Competency is an internal factor or an internal ability to perform in the current environment in spite of the, no, let's, we are not looking at the core competence. In spite of the factors. Now, it is one step further ahead from capabilities. Now, there's something called distinctive competencies. They refer to the critical skills that an organization can put together to perform well and to distinguish itself from the competitors. Capabilities, if grown properly, can become competencies, and competencies can go further and become core competencies. Core competencies are those competencies which are critically required in the area of performance, in the area, in the industry, in the work area where the organization is existing. And it refers to unique ability, products, processes, capabilities that gives an organization competitive advantage. That means advantage over the competitors. And these advantages cannot be easily offered or replicated by the competitors. So, over a long period of time, they give the organization an edge over the competitors. They create and sustain ability to meet the critical success factors of particular customer groups better than others and that are difficult to imitate. Would mean that when the organization has core competencies, they're able to match the requirements of the success factors. Critical success factors is a concept which I think it is there here. Critical success factors is a concept which says that for an organization to do well in a particular industry, there are certain factors, certain criteria which is required. Those can be called critical success factors. Now, we were talking of core competencies. Core competencies arise out of certain situations, right? Evolve out of the following situations. Scarcity. Now, if any quality, any capability is not widely available, it can become a source of competitive advantage. It can become a core competency if the organization has it with the with their resource factors. If inimitability, that means that if the core competency cannot be easily replicated, it becomes a core competency with this organization. Durability, anything which is more durable would possibly be copied by the others, right? So it is one test where when an organization has a core competency which maybe over a period of time is imitated by the others. Competencies are valuable only if they manifest themselves as, this is there from your study material actually, so it's too much of points. Okay, so superior to me. Look, the point is when the organization is there in the industry and there are a lot of competitors around us, they also have some abilities, some capabilities, some core competencies. But as far as this organization concerned, which is we are talking of the current organization, they have to do better in those core competencies. So if there is superiority, if they are better than the others, then obviously that capability can become a core competency. Otherwise, it cannot. Some examples of core competencies are like uh, what could be called a core competency when the organization is able to maintain consistent high quality. Like we've all heard of German engineering. So what happens? Their competency is, the production facilities that they have, the designs that they have. Ceaseless innovation can also be a core competency. There are a lot of firms. There's this firm called 3M. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. Their products, they are always getting, the they're a very innovative firm. Clever, successful marketing, that's also a core competency. If an organization is over a long period of time able to use marketing techniques which are very clever, very smart, and which are not there, which no one else can think about, then it's a core competency for that organization. Formidable size and buying power is also a core competency because it leads to other advantages. Great customer service, that is also very important capability and a point of core competency, right? Is the concept of core competency and capability clear? Let us look at an example. Suppose we're talking of an advertising firm. Now, what could be the capabilities which an advertising firm has? An advertising firm has a lot of capabilities. Um, what is required in an advertising firm, basically? In an advertising industry. And please write down your attendance in the text box. Let me see if someone's answered. I hope you are there. I'm able to reach you, or is there a problem with the network?
Sure, good, ma'am.
Yeah, with you.
Okay, so let's look at. I was asking you about the capabilities that an advertising firm needs, or the competencies. Let's not make a distinction between capabilities and competencies at the moment, because it's the same thing. The only difference is that capability is something passive, and not exactly passive, but yes, it's at a lower level, and competency is at a higher level, because competency would help us distinguish ourselves from the other competitors. Okay, so an advertising firm basically does well when they have creativity, when their communication is very good. They're able to use a lot of languages, they know how to you know play with words, all those things. Then an advertising firm possibly would also need research, because the stronger their research, the more they are able to understand what is required in the marketplace, how the customers would be, what are the expectations of the customers. And they might also have a very good client servicing team, so the client servicing team should be in a position to speak to the speak to the market, the firm, and the with whom, who's their client, understand their needs, understand the positioning of the product, understand everything about the product, understand what message they want to give. And then they are able to, their communication team and their creative team is actually in a position to build something, come up with a campaign which is actually effective in the marketplace. So how do different advertising firms differ? Any agency might have a core competency as of being very creative. Their people are very creative, and they're able to bring out campaigns which are absolutely no one else can think about. So capability, if done very well, leads to a competency, and competency, if it is able to meet the the criteria which is required to be successful in that field, which is a critical success factor, it becomes a critical success factor. Okay, it's connected like that. Now is it okay? Now are we able to I'd like a small response saying yes or no.
Yes, we are following, ma'am.
Okay, so critical success factors are, they contribute to the organization's success in a competitive environment, and therefore the organization needs to improve on them, since poor results may lead to declining performance. Now, going a step further, there was something which I think Grace or Farida, they wanted to understand what is the concept of a value chain. So, when we are doing internal analysis, what are the tools that we are using? We are using the same tools which possibly are used, some of the tools are used for the external analysis also, to understand what are the strengths and weaknesses of the organization, to understand what are our core competencies, to understand whether we are able to meet the critical success factors which are important for being able to survive in the industry. All that would lead to, all that is a part of internal analysis. Internal analysis would also include, to some extent, the value chain analysis or the value chain framework, study of the value chain framework. Now, what is a value chain framework? A value chain represents all the activities and processes involved in creating a product or performing a service from the raw material stage to reaching the customer stage. That is a value chain. Okay, and while looking at the value chain, the organization would be able to understand where they would be in a position to gain competitive advantage, where they would be in a position to actually minimize the cost, where they would possibly make changes if there are any changes to be made. So value chain analysis is the process of identifying each of the activities of the value chain framework, determining their costs and the value that they deliver, and then looking for ways to optimize them in keeping with the company's overall strategy and to develop competitive advantage and to deliver a better product to the consumer, right? And this is a depiction of the value chain framework. There are primary activities which start from inbound logistics, means the raw material being brought in, and to the operations where the material is produced. Outbound logistics means the material is sent for the distribution. Marketing and sales is an integral part of that value chain network, value chain framework, and services which are provided after the sales of the product. There are some support activities also which throughout the value chain are performed by the organization, and there are sometimes or most of the times there are efforts which can be made here in the support activities also for us to be able to lower the cost and deliver better value to the customers, right? That brings us to the end of the block 2, and I would like to ask if there are any observations or questions that we might have. From from the unit, from block number 3, we are going to look at the various strategies which can be used. It is going to be a detailed discussion of what has been covered in the second block in the process of strategic management.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. I don't know. Can you explain the difference between value chain and market segment?
What is the second element that you talked of? Value chain and
And market segment.
market segment.
Yes, ma'am.
Market segment. Uh, Market segment is the market that, look, when we are suppose in business and we are producing a product, these are entirely two different things that we're talking of. First, value chain, if you've understood, value chain is the chain of adding value to the product or the raw material from the raw material stage to the delivering of the product to the consumer. So in the organization, when the raw material is brought in, it is processed and put into the final shape of the product, and then it is distributed, and along with it marketing and sales activities happen. Only then the product reaches the consumer, and that's the value chain in simple words. And market segment is entirely a different thing. When we are talking of the target market, when we are talking of, suppose we are talking of, there is a mass market, and the product that we are making is uh, is low priced. Okay, that means that the cost is not less. We have not added too many differentiating factors in the product. It is an okay product in the market, an average kind of a product in the market, which is not too premium, doesn't have too many features, and doesn't is not very, what should I say, appealing, might not be appealing to the whole market. So what we would do is we would look at the whole market. We would use different criteria to understand how the market can be broken down into segments. And as far as we are concerned, as far as producers of this product, what we will do is we will try to identify for whom this product would be useful, who would buy this product, for whom are we making this product. We are not making this for the whole market. We are making it for some particular type of customers who are price sensitive, who may not be willing, who may not be wanting too many features, and who would be happy, who would be okay, who would be satisfied with the kind of features that we are giving. So we will cater to that market segment only. So in the whole market, whatever industry you're talking of, whatever product you're talking of, the whole industry, basically, the marketplace actually can be broken down into various segments depending on what criteria, what set of criteria you are using to break the market down into segments. Any company, basically, if it's a small company, even bigger companies, might have different strategies. So they may want to cater to some market segments, or they may want to cater to the whole market, to the mass market. If they want to cater to the mass market, they will make a product which is, in some way appealing to all the customers, majority of the customers. Obviously, we cannot satisfy everyone. So a majority of the customers. So then in that case, that the company is offering products to the whole market. But if they are identifying a segment of people, types of people, clubbing them together, there's a thing called profiling of the customer, where they would decide that it is going to be, we are going to make this product for these kind of people. So the marketing is also done in a manner where it will appeal more to these segments. Okay, is that clear now?
Yes, ma'am. But does that mean that the value chain has to do with a particular product from production to the
Can
last
you,
consumer?
I'm not able to get what you said,
Yeah, I said
Hamis.
the value chain. Does that mean that is from production up to the last consumer?
Even before the production, from the sourcing of the raw material, from there, because the kind
Okay.
of raw material you source would obviously influence the rest of the product, the making of the
Okay.
product. So it's,
Okay. Does that mean it's basically for a particular product?
it definitely, when we are talking of our own firm, we might have a value chain analysis for each product. That's also possible.
Oh, okay.
Because yeah, we might be looking at these topics when we are discussing these topics. It might seem a little simpler, but actually in reality it is not that simple. There's a whole lot of uh, what should I say, work involved in each of these stages, each of these things that we are talking of here. So a value chain, if we are talking only one product, then possibly you would start from where to where the material is being sourced, what is the pricing of that, and how, and there could be different configuration and specifications as far as raw material is also concerned, right? So all those things are there. So when you, just one point, if you're talking of sourcing of raw material, possibly you might have three suppliers offering different kind of raw material, and it is up to the company now to understand and to evaluate and to select what supplier or what kind of material they would be using. So I don't know what, I don't want to use the name of a country, but at the moment there's a country in the in all the sectors actually, and they have a wide variety of raw materials and wide variety of products that they um, produce. And then like for example, if I'm talking of fabric, and let's talk of the fashion industry here in India, they have a wide range of options as far as raw material is concerned. So they have this choice of sourcing it from the farmers who are producing it organically. That's one option. There's then, and they have another, the other end is an option where they can source it from this country which is absolutely cheap, which is synthetic, absolutely cheap, and then make the product or fashion products accordingly. And in between these two options, there's a whole gamut of suppliers. So every product would have a wide variety of things to be considered, from raw material to the uh, servicing part. Now, like for example, let me also take an example here. We are talking of we talk of vehicle manufacturing. One firm is able to produce a high-end car. Okay, that same firm later on can offer another variation, another variant of that same model at a lesser cost. How is that possible? If they feel that they want to, reach a wider market, they would do this by reducing the weight of the vehicle. How? Maybe the engine's not that of the level of the premium car. Maybe the body of the car is not, that heavy. Maybe some other. So, various components which are used, they might be using, but they would not be obviously, um, you know clearly mentioning this to the customers. So it's up to the firm to analyze the value chain and see where they can. Now it all depends on the strategy that they are going to follow. If they want to if they're very conscious about the quality, they might not compromise with the, um, the components that they're using. They might not bring them down, the specification down to some other extent. So it all depends on the objectives of the firm, if you understand, on what strategies they are thinking of, following. What exactly is the plan of the firm to, reach the marketplace, and what kind of product are they going to offer, what do they want to offer. It all depends on that, how they're going to evaluate the value chain, where they are going to reduce the cost, where they are going to, uh, bring in more inputs. It all depends on what they want to do in the marketplace. I think it must be clear now, and let's go ahead with the block number 3. Okay.
Yes, okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Just close this one. Now, is this visible to you, the file unit 7?
It
Yes,
is,
it's
ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. Right then. So the block 3 is going to discuss the different business level strategies that are available to the organization when they are talking of the process of strategic management. Again, let's look at this. The process of management says that after you develop mission on the basis of vision, after you analyze the environment, the external and the internal environment, and you establish objectives, now is the time to actually look at how you're going to achieve those objectives. So you have a wide range of strategies to choose from. And what are these strategies? We are going to look at that. Right. So before we come to the choosing of the strategies, let us also define the strategic business unit. Now, what is a strategic business unit? A strategic business unit is any independent entity of an organization which functions in an independent manner, and it is distinguishable from the other businesses because it might be catering to a different product, it might be catering to a different customer segment, it might be uh, in a different geographical area, and it has the authority to make its own strategic decisions. This strategic business unit could be a department, could be a firm, part of a company, could be a product line, could be anything, any division of the business which has been given the authority to take its own decisions, strategic decisions. But obviously, these decisions will be in line with the organization's decisions, and should be in a position to meet the objectives of the corporate, the parent company or the parent department or whatever you say. So it can be a separate division of a large company. It can be a product line in the division. It can be a specific product which is working in a separate market segment or in a different geographical location. Okay. They have their own visions, missions, and objectives, but they are autonomous. Still, they are accountable to the parent company. And basically, in the definition, generally it is the division of a multiple product firm, which is called an SBO. But the concept of SBO says that it can be anything in the organization which has any department, any particular segment of the organization which has been given the independence, autonomy, authority to take their own strategic decisions, but well within the setup of the organization, the main organization. Okay, let us look at this. Like, for example, if it's a corporate level organization, it has two different strategic business units. Possibly they are manufacturing a different product, or they are working in a different geographical area, anything. Or maybe the customer groups are different. Like, for example, in the banking sector, you might have a retail banking division and a corporate banking sector. Okay, so anything can be a strategic business unit as far as it is autonomous and taking its own decisions. Broadly speaking, the separate business units are established to address what? Why are the different strategic business units? Why does the organization feel the need to set up a strategic business unit? Because they want to focus on that business. They want to either satisfy specific customer needs or the needs of specific customers. So if it's a product, it is specific product needs, and if it's a customer departmentation, it is specific customers. The organization wants to achieve an edge over its competitors. It's common sense. And also achieve sustainable competitive advantage. Okay, at optimum cost. So when they want to focus on a particular business, focus on a particular product, focus on a particular area, they would set up a strategic business unit. So that strategic business unit has its own facilities, has its own capabilities, competencies, and is able to perform on its own without the help, without the interference, without the intervention of the other business units. But obviously, the parent company keeps a tab on the strategic business unit, right? Okay, the first thing that we are going to look at as far as the various strategies are concerned is the Porter's generic strategies. We did mention these, if you remember, when we were looking at the process of strategic management in the block 2, right? Now, what are the Porter's generic strategies? The Porter's generic strategies are basically three strategies. One is cost leadership, second is differentiation, third is focus. All these three strategies can be used individually or in combination to each other. Now, what kind of strategies are we talking about? What is the need of these strategies that we are talking of? When we are talking of the strategic management process, we've analyzed the environment, we know what objectives we want to achieve. Then we will be looking at strategies which can be followed. How do we achieve the objectives? How do we achieve our mission? How do we, whatever has been targeted, how do we come to those targets? So, according to Porter, there can be three basic strategies which can be followed. One can be cost leadership, the other is differentiation, and the third is focus. These three strategies depend on two dimensions. So we might decide to work in one segment, or we might decide to cater to the whole industry, the customers in the whole industry, right? We might decide to have a lower cost and appeal to a wide segment of the industry, or we might decide to differentiate ourselves, to build features which are valued by some people or valued by the whole industry. Okay? So, what is the cost leadership strategy all about? The cost leadership strategy focuses on producing quality products. Now, It is not quality products. I could make this change here. When you say quality product, what comes to our mind? We talk of the the extreme good quality product. No, focusing the cost leadership stresses on producing acceptable products, which are generally accepted by people at low cost for the customers who are price sensitive. So this is one strategy, generic strategy. Second generic strategy is the differentiation strategy, which says it is directed at producing goods and services considered unique in the industry. So they might have some features which are good, more valuable, and it is directed at consumers who are relatively price insensitive. They are not. What do you mean by price insensitive and price sensitive? When the price changes, if the customer switches to another product that is price sensitive, a competitor, and when the even if the price changes and the customer does not change his preferences and does not go to buy some other product from some other competitor, then that customer is not price sensitive. Okay. Third generic strategy is focus strategy. The focus strategy concentrates on producing products and services that fulfill the needs of small groups of consumers, and it's based on segmentation. Okay, it has two variants. One is cost focus and the other is differentiation focus. Here, so let us look at them one by one. Overall cost leadership. To develop competitive advantages, what does the firm want to do? The firm offers products and services with acceptable quality and features at a low price relative to its competitors to a broad set of customers. That is what cost leadership is about. The firm would decide that they would not want to spend too much of uh, capital on making the product too costly, because the moment you start adding features, the product starts becoming costly, because you're using facilities, you're using raw material, you're using design, you're using R&D, all those things you're doing to make it more unique. So overall cost leadership strategy says that they have to make products which are acceptable, do not have too many features, and they are acceptable because they are relatively lesser priced in comparison to the competitors, and that is why the consumers would buy that product, right? But if the firm wants to use this strategy of cost leadership, there are certain things which the organization needs to have. They should have efficient scale facilities. Scale facilities would mean even if the production increases, they're able to meet up. Just give me a second. Okay, so for an organization to use the cost leadership strategy, they need to have scale facilities. They need to, they should be able to reduce their cost from experience. That is known as experience curve. We'll come to that. They should also be able to control the cost over, overhead. They should be able to control the overhead costs and the other costs. They also should avoid marginal customer counts. Why? Because marginal customers would mean people who are slightly different in needs, and then the organization will have to cater to them, and they would not be able to. They would not be satisfied because they are not getting, advanced features which they might possibly be wanting. Cost minimization, obviously, overall cost leadership is all about cost, reduction of cost, and maintenance of a basic level of quality. This we've already discussed. To sustain the cost leadership throughout, the organization must be clear about its accomplishment through different elements of the value chain. The ability to charge low prices and still make a profit is definitely challenging, right? Why? Because you're charging low prices, so you should be in a position to be so efficient that even after charging low price, the organization is able to make a profit. Only then it will make sense to be in business. Many cost leaders rely on economies of scale to achieve efficiency. Economies of scale is a concept, I think it's been discussed in other classes also possibly. And economies of scale, we also discussed when we said that when the organization, when the cumulative production of an organization increases, the cost decreases. Okay? So the more and more goods and services a company produces, they are able to reduce that the cost, the fixed cost is actually distributed on the whole production, on whatever production that the organization. So the more and more production that happens, the cost will reduce. And in this case, when the cost will reduce, the organization will be in a position to charge a lower price. Now, there's an advantage to using the overall cost leadership strategy. Cost leaders are able, the cost, a firm which uses the overall cost leadership strategy will be in a position to withstand price competition from other competitors. What is price competition? When organizations fight, when they reduce their prices to gain more competitors, to win over the customers of the competitors. That is what is price competition. So if the organization follows this strategy, then they are in a position to they have a low cost and they would be in a position to withstand price competition. They also act as an entry barrier for new firms. In an industry, if there's an overall cost leader, and this leader is offering products to the marketplace, to the customers in the industry at a lower price, other new firms will find it very difficult to come into the industry. Why? Because they would not be able to offer the kind of price that this cost leader is offering to the consumers. Large market share, obviously, people are very sensitive about money. People are very sensitive about price, in general, and any cost leader would, if they are offering an okay product, something which is acceptable in the marketplace, not bad quality product, but acceptable quality product, they should have a large market share. That's an advantage with the overall cost leadership strategy. There's some disadvantages also, like challenge of an heterogeneous. If the market is highly fragmented would mean there are different needs, different kind of needs existing in the marketplace. In that case, then the cost leader might not be successful. Why? Because they might not be able to generate that much of sales, and if the sales are not there, profit is not there. Lower promotion costs, because major part of the price of a product is generally promotion cost. Cost leaders would like to cut that cost, so they would not be into too much of advertising, market research and development. So they might not be able to promote their product that much, and which can be expensive in the long run. There's another challenge with the cost leaders face, which is low price, low quality perception. We all feel that if the price is low, the quality of the product must also be low. So that perception, if it becomes very widely prevalent, people might stop buying this product, and that could be a disadvantage. Challenge of securing a large market share. Uh, there is less margin for a cost leader in the product. So the cost, there could be not much of a difference between the price and the costing. So in this case, the margin is less. So if the company has to make profit, then they have to anyhow get hold of a larger market share. So it's a challenge. They want a larger market share, but they're not spending that much of money in the marketing. So they have to look for ways to secure a better market share. Low adaptability to changing conditions, that is also one disadvantage, where the organization, since they are so cost focused, they might not be able to understand what is going on around them apart from the costing element. Second strategy is differentiation strategy. Do you want a 1 minute break? It's becoming a little monotonous. We'll take a 1 minute break.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Second is the differentiation strategy. We said that Porter's generic strategies, there were three. One was overall cost leadership, second was differentiation, third was focus. And focus was again of two types. Focus can again be of two types. When the organization focuses only on cost, in a small segment, on reducing cost for the small segment, then it's a, where is that? Yeah. If the organization thinks of reducing the cost for a specific segment only, it becomes uh, cost focus. And if the organization creates differentiation for a specific segment only, it becomes differentiation focus. And at the moment, we are talking of the differentiation strategy. I don't know why I went out to focus. Anyway, we were here on differentiation, right? Are you there or are you not there?
Yeah, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got, yeah, thank you. I'm sorry,
yeah,
I
yeah.
got a little confused because I scrolled up and then I forgot exactly where we were. Right. So we were with the differentiation strategy. Now, according to Porter, what is a differentiation strategy? In differentiation strategy, the customers pay a premium price for the goods and services because of their unique and desirable features. Right. And differentiation strategy would obviously mean that the organization is focusing on either the whole industry or only a couple only on a specific a market segment. So if the focus is, if the differentiation is meant for the whole marketplace, then it is pure differentiation strategy. And if the differentiation is meant for specific segments only, then it is focus differentiation. Okay. Now, we'll have to run a little fast. What are the advantages of a differentiation strategy? Now, it could be any feature, anything which is valued by the marketplace that could lead to differentiation. It could be features, it could be color, it could be quality, it could be, in fact, differentiation need not be something which is actually there. Differentiation can be intangible also. We will now come to that. So, differentiation means making it different or making it appear different, right? But because of differentiation, the consumers would be induced to buy the particular products of the organization. So this is one strategy. And what are the advantages of this strategy? The organization can charge a premium price because they are, offering something different. Different from whom? Different from the others in the industry, different from the other players, the competitors who are offering similar kinds of products to the consumers. Okay. Increase in sales. Why? Because this product is unique. So, the demand would increase and henceforth the number of units and the customers would increase. Increase in brand loyalty also by the customers. That's also an advantage. Why? Because there is a whole lot of different kind of consumers in the marketplace. And if the differentiation is such that it meets a majority of the needs, or it meets the specific needs of a majority of customers, then obviously the customers would be more inclined to buy these differentiation products, because these products are possibly according to their own tastes and needs and requirements. And in the long run, if the differentiation is able to achieve both the sales and the loyalty of customers, they could possibly be sustaining in the marketplace, and they'll get competitive advantage over the others, right? But There are certain disadvantages also as far as differentiation is concerned. Now, it is not necessary that every time a differentiation is, brought into the marketplace, it becomes successful. So sometimes it could fail also. What are those conditions which may not lead to the desired benefits for the organization? The differentiation might not lead to the desired benefits when the uniqueness of the product is not valued by the buyers. It's quite possible that the organization is so into R&D that they make a product which they might feel is good and apt and is suitable for the marketplace. The customers might not value it. So you would see there is a lot of brands which people become used to the flavors, or people become used to the certain, are bound by to certain features of the product, and if the firm changes those products, then the customers would not like it. Unwillingness to pay a price premium. If the differentiation is not valued, if the differentiation which is created by the organization is not valued, is not valuable to the customer, they may not be willing to pay a price premium on that. So where is the failure? The failure is with the research wing of the firm, which was not able to find out what were the features, what were the special things that the customers wanted, and they made something else. Excess amount of differentiation, sometimes too much of, like we said, that too much of changes in the organization, in the structure of the product, maybe not acceptable to the customers. So that also is a disadvantage. Loss due to differentiation in certain cases, when the organization, not in certain cases, in mostly cases, when the organization wants to differentiate the products, they have to invest in R&D or any kind of activities which need changes, and because of this there's a loss of money. Certain differentiating features are easy to imitate, and this happens mostly in all the marketplaces. When the organization is introduces some kind of a feature, it is easily copied and imitated by the other competitive forces in the marketplace. Types of differentiation. Differentiation can be of two types, like we said: tangible differentiation and intangible differentiation. Tangible differentiation is design, packing, style, features, quality of the product, and intangible is through brand identity, brand image, company reputation, customer preferences. And how do we do intangible differentiation? Because we are not offering anything in concrete form to the customers. We do it by advertising, positioning it in a different way, by creating a different kind of an ambience in the stores. So that is all intangible differentiation. We all know that when we buy a product from a normal shop in the marketplace, it's less priced, and maybe if you buy a similar kind of a product from a big supermarket, a big mall, then it's a little costlier. Costs of differentiation. Now we said that it becomes differentiation incurs cost for the firm, and there are a lot of costs which are there. So what are these sources of cost? Why do we need to actually? Why do we say that differentiation is costly? Because there's increased expenditure on training of people. There's increased expenditure on advertising to promote the product, and if it's intangible differentiation, definitely increased expenses on the product, on the promotion of the product. Cost of hiring highly skilled sales force, because you need to make that difference clear in the marketplace. You want to tell the consumers properly that this is how we are different and this is how we are better, and it's an important element. The marketing and the sales people are an important um, component as far as differentiation is concerned, because these are the people who influence and convince the consumers that how the firm's products are different than the other competitors. Use of more expensive materials sometimes. um, Cost of innovation is also there, research and development to make new to think of new things which can be added in the product, to bring up new features which can be added. All that is there. So that is why differentiation is a little costly. Use of expensive material, yeah, that, like, I just occurred to me, using natural products. Now it's I don't know about the other countries, but obviously with African countries and India and other developing countries, a new kind of a marketing is there in place, which is like more environment friendly, eco friendly, natural, organic. So there possibly they're using expensive material, but not most of the time. But they are um, showcasing is it as a differentiated product, and the expensive material is there, so the pricing is also, and they're charging a price premium on that. Though it might be that natural, not be that natural. Okay, focus. The third strategy that was proposed by Porter was the focus strategy, and we said that focus can have two variants: cost focus and differentiation focus. Right? A focused cost strategy requires competing based on the price to a narrow market. Now, the important point here is that the cost competition is only with that segment. The product possibly might be more costlier in the other segments. So we're talking of a target segment, and the cost focus would mean that in a target segment, this firm is offering the lowest price product in this target segment only. And if we compare it with the other segment, possibly it is a higher price product. Focus differentiation is again similar qualities of what we discussed at the features of what we discussed with the differentiation strategy. But here we are talking of a segment, a proper target segment, not the whole marketplace. Okay. Focused strategy can be effective in certain situations only. That means that when the firm goes ahead and focuses on certain specific marketplaces and either offers the low cost there or differentiated products over there, it will be successful only when the market segment is large enough to be profitable. Because the scale, works here. The market segment should also have good growth potential, because what is the use of giving a differentiated product or trying to position ourselves as a low cost competitor over there if the market does not have potential, if the market is not profitable, if the market is not large enough. So market segment is not significant to the success of major competitors. What is meant by this? The major competitors possibly are not interested to do that good in this segment. Focuser has efficient resources. That's there with cost leadership also. That the firm which is focusing has efficient resources, so that they are able to either focus on differentiation or focus on the cost. Is able to defend against challenges. Yes, obviously. High costs are difficult to customer competitors to meet the specialized needs of the niche. Now, what is a niche? Niche is the target segment that we are talking of, right? And because of high cost, the competitors are not able to compete with us. Focuser is able to choose from different segments. If there is a choice of different segments, and then the focuser can decide what strategy is going to be applied. Like if it's a segment which is price sensitive, they would go for focus cost over there. And if the segment is a premium niche segment, then the differentiation strategy would be followed over there. Actually, focus is a combination of the earlier two strategies. The more basic strategies are the differentiation and cost leadership strategies only. Okay, advantages and disadvantages. I suppose we'll skip this. You can go ahead and when we get the material, because we won't be able to finish the targeted portion today in that case. Okay, the second thing which is important here when we're talking of the strategies is the corporate portfolio analysis, right? And what are the various techniques of corporate portfolio analysis? Why do we need corporate portfolio analysis? when we are discussing and deciding on the different strategies which can be followed by the organization, uh, and followed by the organization and the strategic business units, we have to do a sort of an analysis where where we should be in a position to understand what kind of strategies is to be applied to what kind of SBUs. So when it's a corporate house, when it's a big organization, they have these various divisions, they have these various SBUs. Not every SBU might be doing well in their own segments, in their own industries, in their own areas. So the organization needs to actually have some kind of a tool, because the organization has to allocate resources and they have limited resources which have to be divided among these SBUs. So the organization should have some kind of a tool which can help the organization to decide as to which SBUs need to be advanced and which SBUs needs to be bring down, to be brought down as far as scale is concerned, as far as resources are concerned, right? So one tool which is the experience curve is the first tool that we are going to look at. The concept of experience curve says that there is a consistent relationship between cumulative production quantity of a company and the cost of production. That means, according to this premise, it's based on the premise that the more production is there, the lesser cost is going to be there, right? This, you can see here, is a small figure which says that over a period of time, when the production goes on, the cumulative quantity of units produced and the cost per unit per one unit produced, if they are compared over a long period of time, the cost per unit of production decreases, right? Why? Reason being that, like we said, there are two things. We were talking of the economies of scale also. If you remember, there's slight difference between experience curve and economies of scale. I would like you to find that out and see what is the difference. At the moment, I'll just explain the experience curve to you. We are talking of cumulative production. We are talking of the fact that from unit 1 to the unit that we are producing in the end, over a period of time, the cost per unit decreases. And that is called the experience curve. It does not just include the fixed assets, it also includes the other qualitative factors also, like the experience of people working there, the trial and errors that we do. All those things are also there. So all those things also help in the reduction of the cost per unit, not just the fixed asset going down per unit. Okay, that is the main difference between experience curve and economies of scale. Okay, there's something called industry life cycle. That is also something which helps the organization. There is also a tool which helps the organization decide what is to be done, right? In a corporate house, possibly there might be SBUs in different industries, right? And if you remember, there's a thing called product life cycle, which you've seen. The industry life cycle is also like the product life cycle. Why? Because when a new product comes into the marketplace, initially it takes some time to establish itself. Then, when people are aware of the product, the growth phase comes in, maturity phase comes in, like the product life cycle, and slowly over a period of time, this product loses its appeal because some other product which is better suited to the needs, to those existing needs, comes up, and this product goes for decline, or this industry goes for decline. It's the same thing, right? So, as far as strategies are concerned in an industry, if the firm is in the emergence stage, or it's in the growth stage or maturity or decline stage, the strategies which have to be followed by the organization will be different. So that's one tool which can help the corporate decide what business, what SBU needs to be invested in and what SBU needs to be divested in, right? We are going a little fast because this is not there in the unit, but we need to, when we are discussing corporate strategies, when we are discussing generic strategies, we also need to know what are the tools which would help us decide what strategy is to be followed. You must have also possibly come across the BCG matrix. The BCG matrix is a matrix which helps us decide which products are doing good, and it is a matrix which is built on which businesses are doing good. I'm sorry, not products. And it is a matrix which is a comparison between the relative market share and the market growth rate. A matrix between these two helps us understand where our SBU is. Is it a question mark? Is it a star? Is it a cash cow or a dog? You'll have to do a little extra reading for you to, go ahead and understand this, all these tools of corporate analysis. But in brief, we are discussing here the Boston Consulting Group, or the BCG matrix, as I said, is based on relative market share. Now, what is relative market share? Relative market share is there is a 100% market share in the market in a particular, whether it's a segment or the whole market, and how much percentage of their market share does the business have. That is one right. That is one dimension. The other dimension is the market growth rate. How fast, not how fast, is the market growing or not? Okay, so possibly any market which is in the initial stages, it grows a little slowly and then it picks up like that. So on the basis of these two dimensions, if we place our SBUs, or if we place our division or firm or product or company, whatever, we would see that it either can be termed as a question mark. What is a question mark? A question mark is a small firm which has a relatively less market share. I was just looking at the figure. Okay. It has a relatively less market share, but it is in a market, it is in an industry which is growing very fast. So it is possible that with the right kind of strategies, this question mark will become a star. What will be a star? A star is a firm which has a better market share, is a good market share, is a good player in the market, and it is in an industry which is growing very fast, still growing. Okay, so question marks need investment, stars need a lot of investment. Yeah, I'm putting it very shortly. And if the stars are invested in, they might start and become, they might become, and if they are in the industry for a long time, they might become cash cows. What are cash cows? Cash cows are those firms which have a high market share, relatively high market share, but they are in an industry which is now matured and it is not growing that fast. It is not growing. That means that they do not need to, they do not have to promote themselves that much. There are not many entries coming in, new entrants coming in, so they would be in a position to earn profit, right? Question marks do not earn profit. Stars do not earn profit because they need a lot of investment. Cash cows make a lot of profit because they do not need that much of investment, because they have a high market share and they're in a market which is not growing, so no competition is going to come in, and maybe the existing competition would go away. So cash cows generate cash, right? Over a long period of time, cash cows can come to the last quadrant where they lose their market share and the market is also not going. So firms which are in the last quadrant, they need to be divested possibly, or they need to be totally uh, finished off, retrenched and divested and liquidified. So it all depends on what the company wants to do. But GE matrix is one matrix which will help us decide to some extent that where our businesses stand and what is to be done for these businesses, different businesses. Similarly, there's another matrix which is called the GE model. It is a better framework because it has more variety. And here, on in a similar way, there are two dimensions: the business unit strength and the industry attractiveness. Here also, there are 9 cells which work out, and generally speaking, if the industry is less attractive and the business is good, then we'll hold it. If the industry is also hold in the sense of we'll follow the stability strategy, we'll come to that. We'll stand there, we'll sit there, and we'll try to earn as much profit as we can, do business. And but if the industry attractiveness is low and our strength is also not good in that area, we will harvest. Okay, harvest would mean we will sell it off. And now selling off can also have a variety of things, so we'll come to that later. But anyway, but if the business strength is high in an industry which is attractive, then we have to invest and grow. Okay, so these are the different cells which are worked out of G. Similar is a diagram which is there's a similar portfolio analysis tool which is called the space analysis or diagram. It is basically a acronym for strategic position and action evaluation, and it is a combination of 4 factors here: financial strength, industry strength, environmental stability, competitive advantage. And when we place the firm on a 6 point scale over here in all these parameters, then we come to a diagram like this on the right hand side, the red one. And looking at this, the firm decides as to where the organization has to focus. Another evaluation matrix is the Hoffer's matrix, and it is a advanced form of BCG matrix. Here, the competitive positioning is considers vis-a-vis the industry's stage in the evolutionary life cycle, which is of 5. Um, Here, there's 6 actually, 5 or 6 stages, and all the businesses are placed like this. Each circle that you see is the size of the industry. Okay, the placing in the various cells is based on the competitive positioning and the industry stage. So industry stage is from the development to decline. So all these circles are moving from the top to the bottom, and the dark pie shaped structure is the market share of the firm. So there's a whole lot of analysis and work behind creating these circles and the pie charts, but just a indication as to how a tool is used for the analysis of the portfolio that is there in the corporate. There's another matrix called the Shell Directional Policy Matrix, similar to the other earlier ones, based on the competitive strength and market attractiveness. And so that is the end of the portfolio analysis tools, which we need to just know the names and the basic things about how they are used for the corporate portfolio analysis. Now we come to the competitive strategy. We talked of generic strategies, we talked of the various portfolio management, portfolio analysis tools. Now, the unit number 8 is about competitive strategy as to how the organization converts whatever strategic choices they have made into competitive strategy. Now, if you think of it that way, whatever strategies we've discussed earlier, whether it was differentiation, whether it was the Porter's generic strategies, which is the differentiation, the cost focus, and the differentiation focus, and the overall cost leadership strategy, they are in a way competitive strategies only, because we are defining how we are going to conduct ourselves in the industry vis-a-vis the competitors. But still, there's this unit which talks of competitive strategy, and we have to look at competitive strategy in the various industries. emerging industries, declining industries, and also in general industries. Now, if you recall the Porter's five competitive forces, you might remember that there are five, you know, uh, forces acting on a firm. The, so there are not many competitive forces in the industry, in the strategic group where the organization is existing. And competitive strategy is a combination of what all goals and objectives the organization has, and how these goals and objectives will be translated into the functional policies on the basis of the environmental factors. In fact, the whole strategic management process is about fixing competitive strategies to achieve the objectives and goals. So there's something called the Wheel of Competitive Strategy, which is proposed by Porter in 2008. And this shows us that the goals are the center point of the organization's competitive strategy, and the rest of the spokes, whether it is target market, R&D, material, logistics, these are all areas where the competitive strategy policies need to be fixed so that the goals of the organizations can be achieved. It's a theoretical, actually, portrayal of how the policies in the organization should lead to the goals of the organization. Now, factors which determine the competitive strategy, we already know them, that there are a lot of factors which can be actually divided into two, some of them internal and some of them external. There's no explanation here, let's see. So competitive strategy formulation would mean that we need to decide on long-term objectives and strategic direction. That's the first starting point. Eliminate or minimize weaknesses, avoid threats, build on and defend strengths, and take advantage of opportunities. So, in general, whatever we've been doing till now, whatever discussions we've been having till now are about the competitive strategy of the organization. So, this is a pictorial depiction of what we need to do to fix the competitive strategy. And before we fix and start following the competitive strategies that we have discussed, we need to also check for consistency of the competitive strategy. This could be about internal consistency, whether the goals that we have fixed are real, whether the policies that we are going to fix are in alignment with the goals, whether the policies, operating policies, whatever been decided to achieve you know, the objectives and strategies, are they in sync with each other? So internal consistency needs to be achieved. Environmental fit also needs to be achieved, where we can talk of the industry threats, environmental opportunities, and other environmental aspects, whether it is regulatory, whether it is otherwise environmental. That also needs to be studied. Resource fit, to see whether whatever strategies are, are being decided, do we have the resources to match those, to fulfill those strategies, to go ahead and implement those strategies? Are they adaptable to change? And implementation, would we be in a position to implement the strategies that has been decided? That also needs to be seen, whether we have the right kind of people, whether we have managerial capacity, whether we have the policies, and all various kinds of things which are needed in the organization to actually be able to achieve those goals and fix those objectives. Okay, what are the dimensions of some competitive strategies? Dimensions would mean where all in what all areas is the organization going to compete. Specialization, how specialized are we going to be vis-a-vis the other competitors? Branding, how is our brand identity going to be? How are we going to handle the awareness angle? How are we going to build the image of the brand? Are we going to use pull or push strategy? Now, what is pull and push strategy? Pull is, creating so much of hype in the marketplace that people want to buy our product. So that is pull. We are pulling the people. Push is through the sales force, where we are pushing the product so much, we are trying to convince people to buy the product that they are buying the product. So that also is a part of, that also is a consideration as far as competitive strategy is concerned. What strategy are we going to employ? Is it going to be push or is it going to be pull? What kind of distribution channel is going to be used? Is it going to be company owned distribution channel, or whether it's going to be exclusive? There are a wide variety of distribution channels available. So what kind of strategy are we going to follow as far as distribution is concerned? Quality of product is also one dimension. Technology, what technology are we going to use? What is it going to be, and are we going to be integrating either backward or forward? What is our cost position as far as the other competitors are concerned? What kind of cost efficiencies we have? What is more costly for us and what is less costly for us? We might be owning technology, we might be owning, we might be having some patents, so we might possibly have cost efficiencies over there. Services, what all services are involved in the product? What is the position of that? How are we as compared to the others? That also is one dimension which needs to be considered. Pricing policy, again, vis-a-vis competition, vis-a-vis the industry trends, vis-a-vis the average existing in the marketplace. Leverage, what all leverages do we have, financial as well as other operating leverages in the organization, advantages in the organization that might help us in the competitive strategy. So these are all dimensions which have to be looked at before we, convert the competitive strategy, whatever is being decided, into the policies so that action and implementation can be done. Right? Now, competitive strategies in fragmented markets. What we need to look at in this segment here is that the competitive strategies, whatever we've decided earlier, whatever strategies we've chosen, they will have to be changed and they will have to be adapted to the kind of industry we are in. Are you there, or is the network there still?
We're here, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Right.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I think we have to rush, because now, what is a fragmented market? A fragmented market is a market or an industry where no one company dominates the industry. So there are various areas you'd see. Uh, Look at the medical facilities everywhere. I think it must be all over the place that there are not many big players. There might be some big players, but no one is dominating. Look at advertising. Look at fashion. Look at the new, not that. Look at the retail market. So these are all industries which are not very organized, which are not very dominated by any one firm. So working or having a firm or having a business in these fragmented markets is a different game altogether, right? Hospitality is also one area where it's not very organized, and it's a fragmented market. These are fragmented markets because these are not huge. Not many big players are there in these markets, and if the firm has a business here in these markets, there are going to be certain challenges. Now, what are those challenges going to be? Aiming for dominance, diverse needs of the fragmented industry. There are diverse needs. That is why it is fragmented. Actually, no one organization can meet the expectation of a fragmented customer base. So dominance is something which cannot be achieved. So that is why it is a challenge. Dearth of strategic discipline. Now, if there are a whole, if there is a huge number of firms in a particular market, and there is no big player, and the stakes are not that high, then obviously every firm will use their own methods to achieve their sales. So there is no strategic discipline as far as or some kind of a direction which can be seen in a fragmented market. Over centralization would mean most organizations in fragmented industries are controlled centrally. We don't have because they are smaller players. They are controlled centrally. They're over centralization, not too much of adaptability to the environmental fluctuations. False assumptions, that is also one challenge, because in the fragmented industry all the firms are scattered, and when they are scattered they're always having some assumptions or some misconceptions or uh, you know about because they have limited information, so they do not know what is happening in the industry, so it is just subjective evaluation of what all is happening. So there are a lot of false assumptions in the industry. It is an industry which is not very organized. Okay, any fragmented industry is not very organized, and here the firms or businesses also react very um, violently. Not violently, I would say very very they will overreact to new products which would come in the segment, because uh, of the fear of losing customers, because of the competitive disadvantage that they might have if there are new products which they possibly are not offering. So so there's a lot of reaction to new products, and which actually gives rise to the adds to the volatility of a fragmented industry. And if the firm is there in a fragmented industry, then what are they supposed to do? What are they what kind of strategy or approach are they going to follow? There's a broad framework here which depicts how a firm in a fragmented market should go about doing things. They should first conduct industry and competitor analysis. So what are the competitors in the industry? What is the standing and position of the competitors in the industry? And mind you, this is going to be in a smaller framework. It is not going to be a the scope of this analysis would be very limited, would be limited to the kind of competitors which are there in the immediate geographic area or immediate vicinity. Identifying the causes of fragmentation in the industry. Generally, the causes of fragmentation are need based only, and because of the fact that there are no no bigger players in the marketplace. Like for example, if we look at the retail sector, now the retail sector is very organized, but still it is considered a fragmented sector only. But there are some bigger players in the marketplace. I think it must be in all the countries that we are from. But if we would have looked at it from the from maybe around, if it was for earlier 20, 30, 40 years, then the retail industry was a highly fragmented industry, right? And the reasons possibly were that there was not much of investment in the industry. Not many big firms were coming into the industry, but now there are a lot of bigger firms coming into the industry. So it is going from fragmented to a little organized, semi-organized kind of an industry. Okay, examining the causes of fragmentation, assessing whether these causes can be overcome by innovation or strategic change. Now, why are we talking of this kind of a structured approach to a fragmented industry? Because if in an industry, if the fragmentation is handled, all the players in the marketplace will, and they will benefit, because there will be a future of this industry. There would be some kind of a organized structure in the industry, and all the players in the marketplace would be benefiting from it. Okay, predicting the new structural equilibrium in the industry, assessing whether the fragmentation can be overcome or not, and if it can be, then whether the industry is able to give attractive returns or not. If the fragmentation is handled to some extent, and if there are any attractive returns, only then the company or the firm which is there in this market would be in a position to grow. Otherwise, there is no sense in remaining in the fragmented industry. if it's a big firm we're talking of. Okay, coping with fragmentation. In case fragmentation is inevitable, how is the organization going to cope with the fragmentation? What kind of offers? How are they going to watch the environment? How are they going to get information? And how are they going to earn profit in the industry so that they are able to exist and prosper in the industry? That was about fragmented industries. Right now, we're talking of emerging industries and competitive strategy. What is going to be the approach of a firm which is in an emerging industry? What is an emerging industry? Again, emerging industry has potential, but it's not fragmented at the moment because there are not many players in the marketplace. It is a industry which is meeting the needs, some new needs of the customers, or is using some new technology to meet those needs, earlier needs only. So something like solar power, something like electric. There are a lot many players at the moment which have just entered the industry, and now the industry is in a uh, you know in a stage where there's a lot of movement and a lot of turmoil in the industry, and over a period of time, possibly the industry would stabilize and would become a established industry, but not at the moment. Okay, the major competitive problems in the industry are establishing a set of rules so that the organization can cope with it and be successful. Now, look, in any industry, though there is competition between firms, there has to be some kind of a structure in the industry so that everyone can do business, and there is healthy competition, and the competition is not something like this that the organizations are doing some harm to each other. So the government would also actually everywhere they would like the industries to be stable so that all the firms in the industry are able to do business and provide services and products to the consumers. Structural environment in the emerging industries. How is the structural environment in the emerging industries? Uncertain technological environment, because it is just look at the solar or the uh, power, electrically powered vehicles. There is uncertain technological environment. It's still growing. New things are coming up. New technology, new production technology. All these are being invented and put into use. Again, like fragmented, uncertain strategies. All the firms in the industry are not very sure as to what is going to be their long term strategies, how they are going to do business. Once an industry is established, norms are established in the industry as to how they are going to price their products, how they are going to compete with each other, how the production is going to take place, what are the processes, what is the technology which is going to be used. All that is there in established industries. But as far as emerging industries are concerned, strategies are not fixed because everyone is at the moment doing trial and trying new things, trying out new things, and trying to fix a strategy which would help them offer good products and also support their own business. That's the reason it's highly volatile. There are a lot of nascent organizations and spin-offs. Nascent is newly formed organizations, spin-offs made by the employees who are working with elsewhere. There are a lot of first-time buyers in the industry. There's shorter lead time period in the sense that the product reaches the customer fast because it is a new industry. A lot many subsidies for emerging industries are being given by the government. So these are the different various structural elements, structural situations that we find in the emerging industries. Now, what does an organization do for formulating competitive strategy in an emerging industry? The positive aspect of an emerging industry is that there is more freedom to make good strategic choices. and the organizations grow rapidly and gain profits. But the organization has a lot of options as to what to do to help the industry grow. Shaping industry structure would mean the organizations or the firms which are doing good in the emerging industry sector, their rules, their policies, and their strategic choices become a guideline to the other firms. So they shape industry structure. That is one thing that they can do. They can help the industry. Balance between industry and organization interests. Now, since it's an emerging industry, there are needs, like we said, that industry structure needs to be shaped. The industry itself needs to be supported to grow, and the organization also has to earn its profits. So there has to be a balance between industry and organization's interests. The organization will grow only when the industry grows. Changing role of supply chain. The organization should be ready for a probable shift in the orientation of its suppliers and distribution channels. Because, like we said, strategies are not fixed, the industry rules are not fixed. So, the suppliers and the distribution channels, they are also in a transient stage. So, they might change their orientations. Some distribution channels might not want to work with this kind of industry. A lot of possibilities are there. So the common barriers in emerging technology, emerging industry would be proprietary technology. Is it accessible or not? Access to raw materials, distribution channels, that also needs to be arranged. There's not no set system for that. Cost advantage due to experience curve is not there. That is a barrier because it's a new emerging industry. Risk is associated because there are some industries which have not reached the pinnacle of you know success, and they have died down in between only. And some technologies have gone away without impacting the whole marketplace. So the organization should be in a position to, if they are in the emerging marketplace, they should be in a position to safeguard their interests. Entry timing is also important because sometimes, like I said, 10 years back there was this. In India, there were some firms which wanted to take advantage of the eco-friendly products, but they did not do well. Why? Because at that time awareness was not there. Today, possibly the awareness is there and people are wanting to shift to more environmental friendly alternatives. But so entry timing is very important as far as emerging entry is concerned, emerging industry is concerned. Tactical moves, if the organization is there in an emerging industry, then they would have to make smart moves as far as getting hold of suppliers of raw material is concerned. Get committing them to through contracts, even arranging for finance, even setting up a distribution channels so that they are at an advantage. Because emerging industry, like we said, does not have any fixed rules of the game as of now. So all these things need to be taken care of, looked at. The third component of not component, the third aspect which needs to be considered is uh, competitive strategy vis-a-vis declining industry. Now, what is a declining industry? If we recall the product life cycle, it starts from growth. It starts from introduction to decline, right? And why does an industry decline? Because of declining consumer demand. And why does the consumer demand become less? Because possibly of an availability of an alternate product, low economic growth. Because of that, also industry can decline. Rapid cost inflation, the costs have increased. The industry is not able to keep pace with, not keep pace, is not able to actually handle the cost element. Rapid technological advancements lead to a development in other products, and henceforth the consumers are shifting there, and depletion of a natural resource. In that case, also the industry can die. And what are the characteristics of an industry, of a declining industry? Low or declining markets, product line going down, in the sense that lesser products available, lesser products being produced, lack of R&D, no promotional policy, and also the number of competitors are becoming less. So in any industry, if these characteristics are there, the industry is a declining industry. Right? Now, what are the various before we come to the strategies which can be followed in the declining industry, there are various determinants which decide how many competitors are going to be there in the declining industry, right? And that is important because if the number of competitors will decide whether the declining industry is going to be a volatile industry or not. What is a volatile industry? Now, declining industry is an industry which is going down, and when it is going down, the number of sales, the number of consumers, the number of the pattern of profits will go down, right? And due to this, there will be a lot of competition between the existing firms. Some firms will quit; they would exit the industry, but the firms which are existing in the industry will be fighting it out for position for position in the marketplace in that industry. So, what are the determinants of number of competitors, or what is the competition going to be? What determines that? If there is a lot of uncertainty regarding future demand, then there is going to be a lot of competition in the existing players. The stronger the organization's position and higher the exit barriers, the future will seem to be quite optimistic. That means if a firm is very strong, has a lot of has a good market share, and the exit barrier is high. Now, what is an exit barrier? Exit barrier is the cost of exiting the industry. If there's too much of capital investment, if there is too much of assets which needs to be disposed of if you have to exit the industry, that is an exit barrier. So there are a lot of exit barriers and entry barriers in industry. So in terms of the fact that there is uncertainty in the industry, then the that will influence the number of competitors in the industry. Declining pattern. If the pattern of decline is steady or slow, then the rate of withdrawal of the organizations will be okay, right? But if the pattern of decline is very fast, and high, in the sense that it declines very fast, then there's going to be a lot of what should I say? A lot of tension in the industry. Demand pockets. Sometimes in a declining industry, there are some pockets, some consumers, some type of consumers who would still be demanding the product, right? These play an important role in determining the profitability of the competitors who are left in the business. Now, this is because the demand pockets are there because of the habits of consumers that they would not like to change, even if in the industry is, declining. So, if there are good number of demand pockets, or if this demand pocket is high, then the competitors will who are left in the industry will earn some profit. Otherwise, no. Reason for decline we've already seen, could be substitute technology, demographics, shift in consumer perception, demand, whatever. Exit barriers. The exit barriers force the organization to keep competing in the declining industry. The higher the exit barrier, higher is the intensity of competition in the industry. So if the exit barrier is too high, there is going to be a lot of competition. Exit barrier is not just one barrier. Exit barrier is a number of components which make it difficult for the firm to leave the industry. Rivals, volatility, decline in sales, price warfare among competitors. If that happens, then the price war arises because the product is perceived as a commodity. It is a normal product which is available. Fixed costs tend to rise, and the organizations get stuck due to exit. Because of all these factors, uncertainty, high exit barriers, a rise of fixed costs, all those things, the volatility in the declining market increases. And if that does, it makes it a little difficult for organizations to stay in the marketplace or make profits. Now, what is going to be the competitive strategy? I think we'll just take 5 minutes and finish it off. I think I took on too much today, but then we need to finish it off. Would you be there for uh, 10 minutes more, maybe 5 minutes more to finish it off?
Yes, okay, ma'am. No problem.
Okay. Competitive strategy for declining market, declining industry. Now, the kind of strategy that the organization will adopt in a declining industry will depend on its own needs. Its own needs means whether they have the capacity to go to a different industry, whether they have the need to earn profit out of this industry, you know, whether the organization can sustain itself otherwise, all these things are there. Second, the relative position of the organization in the industry. So if the organization is in a profitable place, in a comfortable place in the declining industry, that also is a factor which will decide what strategy they are going to adopt. And the favorable unfavorable structure of the industry to decline means that some industries structures are favorable to decline, in the sense the decline will happen smoothly. But in some industry structures, the decline will not happen smoothly. It would lead to a lot of volatility. So, what competitive strategy an organization will adopt in a declining industry will depend on how the industry is, how strong they are in the industry, and what are the needs of the firm. Okay? And organizations which are placed differently will have different optimal strategies. So if you look at something like this, we'll, we'll go, and read them in detail. But let us look at, there are a couple of theories which help us understand what is going to happen in a declining marketplace, declining industry. So if the company's strengths are high, and the intensity of competition in the industry is also high, then the company will go in for a niche or a harvest strategy. If the company is low in strength and the intensity of competition is also low, then harvest to divest. So this kind of approaches the organization, strategies the organization will go ahead and adopt. Let's see exactly how it happens. I'd like to explain this. You have to go there. Okay. So this is one matrix which would possibly help us understand how an organization will conduct itself, or what strategy the organization will choose. And we will look at the various elements of these strategies below. Now, if the organization has strengths in the marketplace and is in a favorable industry structure, they will go in for a leadership kind of a role in the industry, in the declining industry, or they will, you know, move backwards into a niche. A niche would be a small pocket where they would cater to their demands. If the organization is not at all having strengths in the remaining demand pockets, but the industry is favorable for decline, in the sense that there is not much competition, that there is not much volatility, the organization will go in for harvest. Harvest would remain stable in the industry and try to earn as much profit as possible, or can also divest quickly. Divest would mean selling the business off. When the industry is unfavorable and the organization is having strength, then also they will either harvest, that means sell, maintain a stable position and earn as much profit as possible, or they will shift to a small market segment. When the industry is also unfavorable and the organization does not have any strength, they will have to divest quickly, because otherwise they will not get anything out of the business, right? Let us not look at this explanation part. Let us go to the different strategies which are available to a firm. And the strategies which we saw for the declining market, the harvest, the divest, and the liquidify, and all those strategies, they are parts of the corporate strategies here. So the type of corporate strategies that we have can be actually divided into four: stability strategies, growth or expansion strategies, retrenchment strategies, and combination strategies. Now, since we are going a little above time, what I will do is I'll explain exactly what are these strategies, and then we can go ahead and discuss it. Seems like 10 pages left. I think we will call it a day today. Tomorrow we will continue from the business level strategies, from the corporate strategies that we just discussed. That as far as the different industries are concerned, what all strategies can we have as an option? Okay, so that would be starting from page 24 tomorrow, where we would look at the various strategies which are available to us in whatever industry we are in. Okay, I think
Okay,
we'll.
ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. So we please do go ahead and read the study material, and in case there is something that you would like to discuss tomorrow, we'll do that. Okay. I
Okay,
think
ma'am.
yeah, I think it's too much of theoretical stuff today, so we'll
Thank you.
just leave it right now. Right then, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. No.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.